Hello and welcome to Trans Heartbeat, where we amplify the voices, stories, and power of our trans and gender nonconforming communities. I'm your host, Michelle Matlock, and I encourage the use of all pronouns. Today's guest is a radiant force of nature. I'm so very excited to welcome Rio Antone, an award-winning artist, educator, and activist based in Las Vegas, Nevada. From overcoming homelessness to becoming the first non-binary recipient of the MGM Grand Spirit of the Lion Award and Mixed Las Vegas Trans Pride, Rio's story is one of bold survival, creative power, and fierce love for community. They've also partnered with organizations like GLAAD and the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada to ensure our voices are heard, especially at the ballot box. Rio leads gender translations at the LGBTQ Center of Southern Nevada, a peer-led space offering support, resources, and community for trans and non-binary folks navigating their journeys. Today's conversation is about gender freedom, political fire, and the beauty of building a life with nothing but a dream and determination. This is Trans Heartbeat.
It is an honor to be here. It's an honor to be seen. So I utilize universal pronouns, which to me means that any pronoun that you see or you perceive is okay. Now, the most famously and popularly used is she, her, he, him, they, them, and as I love to say, bad bitch. So any of those is fine interchangeably. I'm originally hailing from Flint, Michigan. And anybody who knows about Flint, Michigan, they know that is Motor City. A lot of times in this current time of frame, people see it connected to the water crisis. So I definitely have grown up in some of the most challenging conditions. And I think it was it was presented to me very early on mentally that I was going to be at a space where I needed to leave Flint to basically grow and become the person that I wanted to be. I think that when I was trying to find my gender identity and understand who I was, I didn't even know that that's what I was doing. So Vegas kept coming up into my frame. I see myself as a very spiritual person, not a religious person, but a spiritual person overall, even though I grew up very religious. And I had this like voice that just kept coming to me time after time, showing me visions that Vegas was a place for me to be. I was 19 years old. I wound up staying in Flint for maybe a year and a half later, learning how to adult. And then I finally did move. But I moved with a close friend of mine. And when I moved with her, who lived here in Vegas, it was the precipice of change for me. I wound up finding myself in a homeless situation. I was chronically homeless. So, after maybe like a month or so, I wound up moving and found out about this program called Transitional Living, and it was for youth. And I stayed in that program for over 2.5 years. But in that time frame, I learned a lot about myself and the people that I was surrounded by. These were all people connected to different forms of mental health. People who were there who were doing sex work, people who were youth sex workers. It was all kind of things that I was exposed to, and them also being exposed to me, that created a lot of nuanced personalities, understanding how we basically interconnect, and wound up jumping into social work because social work kind of just landed into my lap. And the journey with that was exponential. It was beautiful. And it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years in of me doing social work where I was working for Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, and I was doing contracted work for them, working for Department of Juvenile Justice Services. And I was in this room full of people who were probably 20 plus years my senior. And I was a fresh 24, bushy eyed, green, just behind the ears type of person who just had all the faith in the world as a social worker. And I realized that I was the only one there of the age range that I was in, and the only one at this location who was a specialist that understood how to navigate the spaces between LGBTQ and also the space between homeless and housing and at-risk youth. And a lot of times it challenged me because I didn't fit the status quo visually. And I was still at this time trying to figure out my gender identity and how to convey that to the world. So I was stripping myself apart to fit the framework of what it takes to be in a capitalistic place that says this is how you look in order to be successful. And when I finally did come to the conclusion, something inside me said, if you don't believe in you, how do you expect other people to? I've given you all of these abilities to know who you are, and you don't accept it. You are doing a disservice to yourself and everyone who need to hear you. And that's exactly what happened. So I literally leaned in. And I also then found my gender identity through there, because there was a passage time where I was living as a full trans woman. And I felt like I left a cage where I was identifying as a gay male, then to a trans woman and to another cage. Instead of me actually understanding that I was neither this or that, I was everything and more. But it took a lot of faith and a lot of sacrifice to give up the things that made me feel comfortable, to get into the place where I knew that I needed to lean into my power. And now I get to share that with people. I am here at Creating Change 2025, which is taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am literally so happy to be here. My involvement here is that I am working as an ambassador, I am working as a community cohort leader, and I also am operating as a volunteer and one of the stage performers and presenters. So I'm all over the place. At Creating Change, it was honestly fantastic. It was my third year doing Creating Change. And this year was probably the most intentional and intense for me in the good way, because I wound up working with them as one of their lead ambassadors since I was a resident here in Las Vegas and this was their first time here. So I sat on a lot of different panels myself, but I also, for the past 2 years, was working for the volunteer leadership cohort. Well, I have been for the past 2.5 years working deeply in community, hosting and facilitating a community outreach group called Translations. It was in partnership with our local community center, the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, Southern Nevada. I recently decided to depart because I wanted to continue this work, but I wanted to expand it past specifically the trans community only. I wanted to break it down and bring in more spaces, because I noticed a lot of times in the room, trans identity was the last thing we needed to talk about. It was actually all the things surrounding our personal identity. And being trans was just a part of that. And I noticed that the power in the room came from the workshops that I would curate that was talking about who we were as a internal person. How do we perceive life, and how do life perceive us back? And how do we take that and transmute it into power? And everything became about that, which made the group grow from, I want to say, starting at 7 people maybe every week to 40 plus people every single week. So I am in partnership now with College of Southern Nevada, and I wanted to go ahead and create another group that was called Queer Talk, because I wanted to show the expansiveness and the inclusiveness of this, because I think all too often do we try to create safe spaces for community, but those safe spaces can become prisons because we do not allow other people to understand our lived experiences with us and take the journey with us. And just like I told you earlier, I learned how to exist in spaces with people that I never would have done so, from being in space where we had to be inclusive of each other. And it really changed my entire world. A lot of people, similar question to me every day is, how are you doing it? Because the visuals of me compared to what society says is normal, it doesn't fit. Like, I shouldn't be able to walk into a room and not only not be laughed at, but to be respected the way that I have been, and look the way that I do, or present the way that I do. And people are shocked and they want to know the secret sauce. And I'm telling them, I tell people all the time what it is, but I think it's different for each person because they have to take that walk for themselves. So I said, how do I curate something that's going to help people understand what that looks like? And I did. I sat for a little over a month to curate a in-depth 6-tier workshop not workshop, but a workbook that anyone can do, whether it be online, whether they can do it in person, that allows them to understand exactly what is it looks like to take control of their mentality, their life, their destiny. And it's not coming from a lens of if you just work 5 steps. It's more so doing the work. For anybody who understands shadow work, doing the trauma work, doing the work that heals who you are, because your life deserves that chance, right? So that is something that I am looking to launch within the next month or so, and I'm very excited. It's going to be an entire rollout for it. And aside from that, I have a book that I am writing. The book does not release until sometime next year, but I have been writing an autobiography book. So, just kind of chronicalizing the journey, because I think a lot of people are interested in understanding what that looks like. And I am now, like you said, doing more on a national scale and global scale, where I'm able to transfer my talents and gifts to other states, and who are actually being like, we would love to have you come here. We would love to work with you. And I understand these things on a very deep level. So, what I would prefer and what I would enjoy for people to understand is that the person that you are saying is completely different than you because of their mindset or opinions is actually needing you and you need them, because the reality of it is y'all are facing the same issues, whether it be political, whether it be sexual, whether it be class, whether it be about race, all of it. And I think that my goal overall in the perfect world is for people to understand that every single person you come in contact with is someone who is an extension of you, not someone who is a opposite of you. And if there is anything that is opposite that you see in them, that is what is to be relished and to be enjoyed and to be loved on, rather than to be twisted or pushed away or to be turned into something that makes you feel comfortable. If you felt comfortable in every room you walked in, as far as like unchallenged, you would never grow as a person. And I think what I would like for people to know about the lived experience I have, that I want them to be able to embody, is that what people view of you is only comes from the little shallow minded viewpoints of what they've learned about people who are like you, in whatever way that is. So don't internalize people's viewpoint of you, but take it and use it as a tool to be able to create allyship or to create opportunity for a learning tool. It is not your job to carry their pain and make it your own. And I think that that comes with a lot of ability to understand who you are. That comes with a lot of ability to understand how to convey and advocate for who you are and for who other people are. And I want to teach those tools to people. I want to share with people how powerful it is to know who you are. You can find me at all handles at Rio Antone, which is RIOANTONE. You can find me on all social media platforms from there. I am even on Facebook. I love all the apps and I am extremely active. I love to converse and meet new people, and I love to hear stories about anyone who is having their own personal life impacted by things that's going on, or just sharing what new thing that they learned for themselves. I really love to build community online and offline. I also do a lot of work around community, not just here in Vegas, but around the country in different spaces. So if anyone is wanting to connect, whether that be through doing panels, speaking, hosting, helping to create project management for fundraising, and anything other than that, expertise in those projects, I just truly want people to understand that this is a one-stop shop. You need it, I got it. And yes.
Rio, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey, your wisdom, and your light with us today. Your story is a reminder that transformation is possible, no matter where we start, and that claiming our truth can change the world around us. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Keep following Trans Heartbeat for more stories from the heart of the movement. Until next time, I'm Michelle Matlock. Stay loud, stay proud, and stay connected.